Welcome to our channel Lightning Vision. We all know that communicating is very important. However, communicating well is somehow difficult. Welcome, Mother.
Thank you, Natalie.
So it's the fact that people have a hard time to make themselves understood, like really clearly. So do you have any suggestions, or do you have any idea what the reason is, what's behind all the difficulties in us to communicate clearly?
Yes. When we talk about communication, the first thing we have to realize is the way a human being communicates has nothing to do with his environment or with the subject he wants to talk about. It has to do with the way this works in himself. With that I mean to say that good communication or less good communication and knowing how to express yourself is in the first place a question between man and man himself. There's a lot of talk going on about communication problems, and we have the impression that it has to do with me and the others I talk to, but that's not the truth. The reality is it has to do with me and myself. The more I'm clear between my personality and my own soul, the more I will also be clear with my environment. And that has nothing to do with the language I speak and the difficulties I have to express myself, or because somebody who is clear in himself between the two parts of his own being, his soul and his lower self or his personality, will always be able to transmit this to his environment. The environment will immediately feel what this is all about, what this person wants to say. Now, if the environment doesn't like to hear the message, that's something else. Then they can make obstacles or have a resistance. But this will not be felt as if the message was not clear or is not understood. There will be objections. There will be reasons they will put on the table why we better not, why we don't agree with the person who's in front of us. But that's not the same thing as communication problems. So I think when we talk about communication problems, the first thing we have to see is the one who is speaking, is this clear for the person, her or himself, what he wants to transmit. That's the first thing you have to look at. If this is very clear for the person, and then the second thing you have to look at is, does this person have the means to express him or herself? Is it a language problem? Is the subject very difficult to explain and he doesn't have the vocabulary to express it in some way because he's talking about mathematics and the others do not have a mathematic vocabulary? So the first thing is it should be clear inside of the human being what he wants to talk about and what is his opinion, what he wants to say. The second thing is, do you have the means to say this? Do you speak the right language? Do you have the vocabulary to express yourself correctly? And the third factor is, to whom are you speaking? And do those people, or that person, does he or she, or do they have a reason so they prefer not to understand you? That's what I would do with communication problems. I would say, the person who is speaking, who wants to transmit his vision, is this person clear with him or herself? That's the first factor that has to be very clearly sought out and sorted out, and that has to be very clear. The second factor is this person speaks the language or has the means to transmit it. And as I said, the third factor, the ones who he's speaking to, do they perhaps have a reason so they prefer not to understand it? If you have those three factors very clear for yourself, then you can solve a communication problem. Whereas I would in general say, I think the most important aspect of this is man with himself. I've seen in most cases that communication problems are linked to a lack of clarity in ourselves. So basically we are projecting our own inner struggle on those who are around us. And we say to them, yes, but we have a bad communication, you don't understand me, you don't try to understand me, you don't listen. That might happen, but I'm not sure that the one who is speaking is clear with himself. Because the difficulty in man is that very often we want to express our opinion, but when it comes to our opinion, we are double. And that's the reason why we have communication problems. I can give an example, but it's a very general and very vast example, but it can give an idea of what I'm talking about. Ronald Beasley, a very good spiritual teacher from England, he died quite a while ago. One day I read in one of his books, he had given a lecture, and he said the real problem in modern society is, and that had to do with communication problems, that the real difficulties always stay hidden in communication. With that he meant to say, he gave an example. He said, imagine that you are part of a family and there's an aunt in the family and she has quite a lot of money. Now one day this aunt falls ill. She lives alone, she doesn't have a husband, she has no children. Some members of the family visit her regularly, others less, for all kinds of reasons. But she falls ill, and now the whole of the family has to come together to seek the solution for this aunt, because she cannot stay in her home anymore. She has to go somewhere where she can be taken care of. He said, now the problem will come up. Let's say 7 or 8 members of the family have to decide all around the table what will happen to Aunt I don't know, Mary. He said, it all depends on what they're looking for in the depth of themselves in this situation. If the 8 persons are all waiting for just one thing, that Auntie dies and that they will have a part of the heritage, he said, well, you imagine the discussion. He said, what will happen is that nobody wants to admit to himself in the first place that in fact he's only interested in the money, and what happens to Auntie is absolutely not his problem. The sooner she dies, the better. Well, this is something immoral that a human being will have a difficulty to allow to himself, to his consciousness. He will have a problem to say, yes, that's what I really think. He says, so a discussion will appear where everybody is turning around the main point. So they will have suggestions of solutions that cost the least possible, but in fact they cannot admit this openly, so they will try to see if the others are on the same level. They will try to say what they do not say, what they hide, what they in fact think but not admit to their consciousness. He said it will be a very difficult situation where a lot of talking, and in the end probably there will come a solution if they find if they're all on the same wavelength. A solution that costs the least money and will certainly not be in the interest of the aunt. And everybody's waiting, basically one thing, that it will not take too long before she passes over. But nothing is openly expressed. You only find the problem in the solution at the end, which will not be the best solution. They will seek a cheap establishment to put the aunt in, and then they cross their fingers and they hope it will not take too long. Because the longer she stays in the home or in the care center, the more money it costs. So that's not in the interest of the family. What he wanted to say is what we really seek, what we really think. We hardly admit it to ourselves, to our consciousness, and even less often we will express it. Well, that is the problem of communications. So that's to say, in communication, man very often tries to say something that he hides.
Yeah.
Well, how do you want to say something that you want to hide at the same moment? Mm-hmm. And then we say to the others, yes, you don't understand me.
Of course.
But you expect what? So if you're in a situation where you feel not understood, the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, am I clear with myself? Because perhaps I try to express something which is only half of what I really want to say. But the other half I never say because it's a bit tricky. Well, that's the problem. We're all talking about what's the best for Auntie Mary. Mm-hmm. But in fact, we hope that it will be a solution that does not cost too much money, and that certainly she will not stay too long.
And it's easier too if they all feel this way, but like there's probably a mix of different.
Yes, if they all feel if they all feel this way, the solution will come sooner, but it will be the same silly solution. That's absolutely not in interest of Auntie. If there's somebody in the room who wants the best for her, then it will be a more difficult negotiation, because somebody will oppose a resistance. Mm-hmm. But so, the same solution will, if the majority thinks the cheapest solution and the quickest way for her to pass over, then that solution will appear.
Okay, wow.
So I think, as I already said, the first problem is, am I clear with myself, or is there a hidden meaning in what I want to transmit that in fact I do not want to admit to myself?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mother. That was a really good example. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I encourage you to look at the different websites at the bottom of the description, and we will see you very soon. Have a nice day.
Far away is my beloved's house, the woods are dark and gloomy. Far away is my beloved's house, and undergrowth arrests me. Can love lighten up the path? The truth lies in the heart. Can love lighten up the path? The truth lies in the heart. Far away is my beloved's house, the road is full of hindrance. Far away is my beloved's house, my feet ignore resistance. Love can lighten up the path, when strength is in the heart. Love can lighten up the path, when strength is in the heart. its house. The woods are dark and gloomy. Far away is my beloved's house, and undergrowth arrests me. Can love lighten up the path? The truth lies in the heart. Can love lighten up the path? The truth lies in